here we go. Perfect. So who am I? Does anybody know who I am? Jena. And do you know what's the name of the book we're reading that I wrote? Miss Perkins' class. Miss Perkins' class? What is it? Yes. Okay. Now, is Ms. Stouffer's class still here? Yeah. Oh, there you are. Okay. So, do you remember from last week what is the name of all the books I write? Yeah. Starts with a C. Critterkin. And who can tell me what Critterkin means? Tell the other kids. What does Critterkin mean?
Remember what it means? Remember?
Oh yeah.
Bryson?
A critterkin means kind of like a critter.
And what's a critter? And
animal.
And what does kin mean?
Mother, father, sister, brother, aunt, uncle.
Family.
Family. So I write books called Critterkin, and Critterkin means animal family. You guys think that animals are part of our family?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So what's the name of the main character in the Not Perfect Hat Club that there's a Critterkin that we're reading about? Mrs. Hikes.
A dog.
It's a dog. Newton. That's right. Good. Okay. So, can anybody tell me what this is?
Not so perfect hat.
Mrs. Perkins, it's your turn. What is this? What did I just put on? It's my not perfect hat. So we're going to do more reading today about Newton and the Not Perfect Hat Club. But before we get started, I'd like you guys to introduce yourselves. Okay. So let's start with Mrs. Perkins' class. Mrs. Perkins, could you tell us something about yourself and introduce your kids, or one of your kids introduced you to everybody else? Do we have somebody who wants to do it?
I am. What's my name?
Okay, so come up to the camera so that we can hear you, because all the other kids in the other parts of the world can't hear you.
And what grade are you in?
Second.
Okay, so say it really loud. What's your name again?
My name is Audrey.
This is Audrey, and she's in whose class?
Miss Perkins, second grade.
Mrs. Perkins, second grade. And where is Mrs. Perkins, second grade? Are you in India?
No.
USA, what states?
Okay, so Mrs. Perkins' kids are second graders in Texas. So everybody, hello!
Hello.
All right. So, Mrs. Hikes, would you introduce your class to us and tell us where you are and something about you?
Mrs. Hikes' class jump.
Well, come up to the camera and talk really loud so we can hear you.
Mrs. Hikes' class from Hutchinson, Minnesota.
Minnesota! Wow, that's cool. Is Minnesota in Australia? Are you sure? Okay, what country is it in?
It's close to Texas.
It's close to Canada, yep. But you're in what country? You're in what country?
What country are we in?
United States. Okay, so Mrs. Hikes' class, hello. Okay, so now we have one more class, Mrs. Stouffer's class. Can somebody introduce you guys?
Hi, I am JT. We are Mrs. Stouffer's class in second grade Lecanto, Florida. We are excited to be a part of the Not So Perfect Hat Club.
Hi, JT. So they're in Florida. Where is Florida, you guys? Are you guys in England?
No. Yes. No.
What country are you in, JT?
United States.
United States. Okay, so Mrs. Stouffer's class. Hello? Welcome. So today we're going to read another chapter of the Not Perfect Hat Club. So would you help me do my reading? Yeah? Yeah. Okay, fantastic. So before we get started, Mrs. Perkins' class, I'm going to share my screen, and can anybody tell me in Mrs. Perkins' class, who is that? Who is that? Who is that? It's somebody from the Not Perfect Hat Club. Do you guys remember who it is? Midge. And is Midge a cat?
No.
What is Midge? And what kind of dog? A beagle. Okay, excellent. So we have Midge, and now who can tell me in Mrs. Heights' class, who is this? What kind of dog is Newton?
What kind of dog?
Right. And does anybody remember, now I'm going to ask Mrs. Stouffer's class. Mrs. Stouffer's class, do you remember what is Newton's new job? First he was a show dog, and he didn't do so good. And then now he's become what kind of dog?
Go ahead, say it.
He's a therapy dog. And what do therapy dogs do? Do they bite people? Yeah, they help people. And what kind of people is Newton helping? Is he helping older people? He's helping kids like you. That's kind of cool, isn't it? Okay, so let me come back. I'm going to come back so you can see me again. I think. Sharing. Okay, here I am. I'm back again. So let's read the next chapter of Newton's Adventures, shall we? Okay, so will you help me read? Okay, so here's what I want you guys to do, okay? When you hear words in groups of 3, can you repeat after me? Okay, so when you repeat, don't repeat quiet. I want you to repeat really loud, okay? Okay? So let's practice, all right? Can we practice? I want you to be so loud you take the roof off your school, all right? All right, you ready? You ready? Okay, repeat after me. Yes, yes, yes. That's excellent. No, no, no. I can't hear you. Okay, so everybody remember, when you hear words in groups of 3, repeat after me. And are we ready to get started? I want everybody to stretch and yawn and get rid of all the wiggles. Okay, you ready? Here we go.
Are we muting?
We are going to read. I will read to you.
Are we muting?
Ooh, what?
Are we going to mute?
Oh, yes. Oh, thank you for the reminder. Could you guys please mute your mics? Thank you for reminding me. Okay. The name of the chapter is Miscommunication. Oh, you know what, you guys? You can't mute or I can't hear you help me read. Can you unmute?
We are unmuted.
All right, so that means you guys, see, I make mistakes all the time. So you guys have to be really quiet when I'm reading, unless you hear words in groups of 3, and then you get what? All right, so here we go. The name of the chapter is Miscommunication.
You have to be silent.
When Carl first told me about snowflake kids and therapy dogs, I was very confused. I couldn't imagine what I could do to help, but I was willing to try. Now, after listening to some of Carl's kids, I was beginning to understand. Carl wanted me to help kids feel safe so they could talk to him. "How was your first day at work?" Midge asked when Carl and I came home. She'd spent her day napping and was waiting for us by the front door ready for a walk. "It was an interesting day, but a little sad," I said. "I met 2 kids who didn't like themselves very much." "I know lots of dogs like that," said Midge. "Catastrophe was full of them. Puppies and kids need lots of love to grow up happy and healthy." "Are you ready to go?" Carl asked. "There's not much daylight left, and I have to get back to finish my notes and make dinner." "Yes, yes, yes!
Yes!
Let's go, go, go!" I was as eager as Midge to get outside. After sitting still and listening to kids all day, I had lots of energy to burn. Unfortunately, the long day had the opposite effect on Carl. His steps were slow, and his eyes were focused on the ground instead of the beautiful winter evening. Midge and I were counting on a long walk to the park and a good hard game of catch. But Carl only did 2 laps around the block before heading home. "What?" Midge protested. "No park? No run?" She dragged her heels and put on the brakes until Carl turned to see what the problem was. "What's going on, Midge?" he asked. "More, more, more!" he barked, pulling on her leash. "I'm sorry, but I need to cut our walk a little short tonight," Carl said. "Now be a good girl and come along." "Good girl, my foot," muttered Midge. "Good dogs need exercise to keep from chewing shoes and peeing on carpets." "Midge," I scolded, "you wouldn't do that." But the truth is, I felt exactly the same way. A storm of energy was swirling inside my body. I needed to run. "Not good, not good, not good," said Midge with a heavy sigh as Carl walked us up to the front door. She dragged her disappointed paws upstairs to bed and didn't come down for dinner. Meanwhile, I took my frustrations out on the stuffed tiger that Carl had bought me at the store. First, I grabbed it by the tail and swung it back and forth as hard as I could. Then I ripped it open at the seams, pulling out all the stuffing and chewing on the squeaker toy inside. The squeaker cried. It sounded just like I felt, frustrated. "Newton," Carl yelled from the kitchen, "what are you doing? Stop that!" The more I chewed, the more frustrated I felt. Finally, Carl couldn't stand it anymore and came to see what all the noise was about. "Newton," he said when he saw the stuffing all over the floor, "what have you done?" As soon as I saw the look on Carl's face, I dropped the squeak toy and hung my head. "I am so disappointed in you," said Carl sternly. He grabbed me by the collar and pulled me through the dining room, into the kitchen and out on the back porch. "You stay here and think about what you did while I finish dinner and clean up this mess." Because I'm a good dog and I don't like to disappoint my person, I felt a little guilty. But mostly I felt frustrated and angry at Carl. People can be a little dumb sometimes. Over the next 2 weeks, as Carl's schedule got busier and busier, Midge and I realized he didn't really know what we needed to be happy. Carl was an expert on kids, but he didn't understand dogs. Midge's response was to sleep more and more. She didn't meet us at the door when we came home, and she didn't ask Carl to pet her anymore. I wonder what's the matter with Midge, Carl said one day. Maybe I should take her to the vet. Meanwhile, I was handling my extra energy in a different way. Whenever Carl let me outside to pee, I would race around the yard, barking at birds and squirrels and doing my best to get enough exercise. Carl hated standing out in the cold waiting for me to do my business, so he always made me stop. But it was better than sleeping all day or chewing my toys. Then one day, after a long afternoon of letting kids hug and cry on me, I was all out of patience and good behavior. My body wanted to run, bark, pee on bushes, and find a few cats to chase. As soon as our last client left, I began following Carl around the office, asking to go outside. Hurry, hurry, hurry! Hurry, hurry, hurry! Hurry, hurry! When Carl stopped to empty the trash can and write a note, I barked at him again, go, go, go! Go, go, go! Hold your horses, Carl said. I'm almost done. Outside, I danced in place and spun in circles a few times as Carl locked the door. It was all I could do not to run ahead and scratch the gate leading to the backyard. Wow, wow, wow! Wow, 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 wow! I could hardly wait to go out and run. You must really need to let off some steam, said Carl as he unlatched the gate. You go ahead and I'll go get Midge. The moment the gate swung open, I sprinted through the puddles of melting snow towards the noisy crows squawking insults at the bird feeders. What are crows? Mrs. Stouffer's class, do you know what a crow is? What's a crow? Is it another kind of dog?
No. A bird.
It's a bird. What color is it?
Say it loud.
Yeah. And Mrs. Perkins' class, are they friendly birds?
No.
What do they usually do? Mrs. Perkins' class, can you make the sound a crow makes? Yeah. Okay, so Newton ran into the backyard and he's chasing the crows. Crows are really smart, but they're also bullies. Midge and I like to chase them around their yard. Their noisy complaints and insults always make me laugh. Here comes that big bag of fur again, said one of the crows. Yak, yak, yak. Yak, yak, yak. Cawed the crows, flopping lazily into the air and landing on the back fence just outside my reach. Most days I would have stopped to trade insults, but it felt so good to be running that I just kept going, barking, worm breath, as I passed the crows at the feeders and focused on a single black bird taunting me from the top of the fence. Dream on, furball, the crow called. You can't catch me. Ordinarily, I would have slowed down and made a hard left when I reached the fence. But today, I gathered all my strength, took a deep breath, and leapt with all my might for that beady-eyed crow. Behind me, I heard Carl yell, Newton! And the other crows started shouting, jailbreak, jailbreak, jailbreak!
Jailbreak, jailbreak, jailbreak!
As I sailed over the fence. For a few wonderful seconds, the ground let go of my feet, and there was nothing to do but put my paws up by my chest and feel the air rushing by. I was flying. Moments later, I landed so hard with so much speed that I had to keep running to prevent myself from falling. That's when I chose to do something I'd never done before, something I never thought to do because I was trained to be a good dog. I kept running. That's right, I pointed my nose in the direction of the park and ran towards it as fast as my paws would go. Oh. So Newton jumped the fence, landed on the other side, and kept running. I wonder what's going to happen next. So that's the end of that chapter.
Read the next one.
No, I'm not going to read the next chapter. You guys are going to try and figure out what happens next. And you're going to write to me. And you're going to write to me. You're going to write to me in your blogs about it, okay? And we'll find out next week what happens to Newton, okay? No, I don't want to spoil the surprise. So you guys, I want you to use your imaginations and think what might happen to Newton next, okay? And then we'll find out next week when we read. All right, so now what we can do, though, is you can't ask me what happened, but you can ask me questions. And you can ask the other kids in the other classrooms questions, okay? So we'll go classroom by classroom. Start with Mrs. Perkins, then Mrs. Stouffer, then Mrs. Hikes, and we'll just ask a few questions of ourselves, okay? So you can ask me, or you can ask the other kids. So Mrs. Perkins, do you guys have a question you want to ask me or the kids?
Yes, we do. Let's see. So let's have Madden. Why don't you come right here?
Madden, what a great name.
He's mad and he did.
Right.
How many drafts does it take you to write a book?
It usually takes me at least, what, Marty say, 3 or 4 months? Yeah. It depends. If I've got a lot of other work to do, it takes me longer, but usually I get really interested in the story and I can't stop writing, so I write until I finish it. So 3 or 4 months? Do you like to write?
How many drafts, I think he asked. So how many times did you have to rewrite the story and rewrite?
Oh, drafts! I'm sorry, sweetie. I usually do 2. So I just write the first one, and then I read it to Marty and my other friends, and they give me feedback, and I make changes. And then I read it to them again, and there's usually something that needs to be changed again. And so 2 drafts? That's a great question, actually. Thank you. Okay, Mrs. Stouffer's class. Oh, we'll come back to you, don't worry. Mrs. Stouffer's class, you guys have a question?
Yes, he's on his way.
And remember, you can ask the other kids questions too, because they're in Florida and Minnesota.
This is for the other classes.
Oh, good.
What was your favorite part of the book so far?
Ooh, what's your name?
Kristen.
Hi. Okay, so did you hear what he said? Mrs. Perkins and Mrs. Hikes? Kristen, I think you need to come back and tell us again really loud so they can hear, because he's asking you guys a question. Say it really loud.
What was your favorite part of the book so far?
Excellent. Okay, so Mrs. Hikes, somebody want to answer there? What was the favorite part of this book so far for you guys?
When he got out of catastrophe.
When he got out of catastrophe. Ooh, that's one of my favorites too. Mrs. Perkins' class?
Favorite part, Maggie?
What's your favorite part so far?
My favorite part, Midge. Yeah, my favorite part was when Newton, was trying to be the best as a soda, but then his owner put him in catastrophe, and he managed to get away by the next people to Carl.
Yeah. That was kind of a sad story in the beginning, but it got better, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, how about Mrs. Stouffer's class? Why don't one of you guys answer the question? What's your favorite part?
Who'd like to answer their favorite part of the story? Bryson? My favorite. Come quick. Yeah, your
Talk loud!
Hi, my name is Bryson. My favorite part was when
I don't know your favorite part. You have to tell.
when
Newton or Midge or Carl?
who was the one that made all the mess in the kitchen?
That was Newton, because he was really frustrated, yeah?
I like the part when Newton was making the mess in the kitchen.
Oh,
Yeah, that was kind of funny, wasn't it?
read today? Good. I'm glad you were
Yeah.
listening.
Okay, excellent question. How about Mrs. Hike's class? Do you guys have a question
Class's turn.
for me or the other kids?
Do you sit by the dog when you're writing?
Do I sit by my dog when I'm writing?
Yeah.
I don't have a dog, but I have a very fat cat. I sit beside him when I write. Can anybody guess what his name is? It starts with an O.
Oh.
Owen.
My fat cat's name. Owen's a good name. You know, his name is Oscar. You can ask the other kids questions too.
My name is Emerson, and it's based on events that really happened in your real life.
Ooh, that's a good question. A little bit. And Newton is based on a real dog, and so is Midge, but mostly I make it up in my head. I have a good imagination. It's a great question, though.
But it's not rainbows and unicorns.
Okay. Mrs. Stouffer's class. You have another question for me or for the other kids?
Yes.
Awesome.
Do you write poems?
I do. And guess what? There's a poem in the book coming up. I can hardly wait for you guys to read it. So when you read it, maybe you can read it back to me, okay?
You didn't tell her your name. That was Violet.
That was who?
That was Violet.
Oh, Violet. I read your blog. Hi. Mrs. Hike's class, do you have one more question?
Yes, we do.
Excellent.
That's an stand up.
One more question.
Talk really loud so we can hear you.
Like Newton? You have a dog like Newton?
Do I have a dog like Newton?
Yeah.
I do not have a dog right now. I have only my fat cat.
That.
But I do know a dog like Newton. He comes to my Starbucks every day with his owner. Very friendly, nice dog. Okay, are we back to Mrs. Perkins? One more question.
You're not being polite.
One more. You guys have one more question? I bet you do.
Why don't you have a dog?
Okay, so I love dogs, and I've had a Cocker Spaniel when I was a little kid. Then I had a Golden Labrador, and my last dog was a Doberman, but she got really old and she died, and so I haven't found the new dog that I want yet. But I'm looking.
Maybe you can get a midge.
Maybe I'll get a midge. A midge, or when you guys, I'll tell you what, when you after you read the rest of the book, you tell me which dog you think is best for me, okay? Because there are 6 more dogs coming. 6. Yeah. Okay. I can't tell you anymore, but after you read the book, you tell me which dog you think would be good for me, okay? All right, Mrs. Stouffer's class. One more question.
Thank you for all the comments on our blogs.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for writing them. Careful. All right, Mrs. Hikes, do you have one more question? We lost your video. Are you still there? Oh, there you are. Oh, good. Okay.
She's talking.
Okay. Sometimes technology is a problem. Do you have one more question there?
More?
We're good again.
You're on video.
Okay, guys, put your hands down.
One more. I can see you guys. You have one more question for us?
I have a question.
Okay, stand up, come forward, and talk really loud. Come on, you can do it.
Tristan, go.
Dylan, what's your question?
You should get a golden retriever and call it Newton.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I got a question.
Maybe I will. Okay, so that's about it for today. I will see you guys on your blogs, right? And I want you to think about your nicknames for me, all right? Why your names are so important, all right?
No one reminded.
Hang on.
All right, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you.